Good afternoon. Today I'm here with Bonnie Baranski, Chair of Women for Social Justice. We're going to be talking about violence against women. Now Bonnie, records show that there is almost daily occurrences of domestic abuse in Sault Ste. Marie. In November alone, there have been 16 reported cases of violence, and it's only the 22nd. What do you think is the most underlying factor for this horrendous history of abuse?
Thank you, Mike, for doing this interview. This is really important. And I do believe that the most underlying factor is that there is not a deterrent. When these abuses occur, the sentences are usually such that they're not a deterrent to the people that are committing the abuse. Also, another factor is poverty. When people leave abusive situations, they're more than likely to be much poorer than they were when they were in the situation. And they have to think of how to take care of their children, how to clothe them, feed them, and it's usually the woman that has to start all over again. So those are the two main ones, I would say, poverty and the fact that there is no deterrent. And I would also like to say, Mike, that people that work in the field and that are battling this situation like to call it what it is. We like to name it. It's partner assault.
What role do alcohol and drugs play in this? Do they play a major role?
This is something that always comes up, and I really don't believe that alcohol and drugs are a factor. If you're a violent person, you're going to be violent whether you use or not. Now, I do see alcohol and drugs sometimes as a factor in coping because it's a method of escape. If you've been beaten, if you've been hurt, sometimes your only way of dealing with that and the only survival skill is to use alcohol and drugs. So I see it as part of the mechanism for escaping from what's really going on in your life, but I don't like it to be used as a reason for the violence.
Is there any one reported segment of society that has a history of more abuse than another?
That's a difficult question. I would rephrase it and say that there are marginalized people in our society that do suffer more violence than others. And it's usually people that are very poor, homeless.
According to police reports, in 2011, there were a total of 1,270 occurrences and only 286 charges laid. Why do you think there is such a discrepancy there?
Well, I think that there are many layers to that question. One of the things that I would say is that there is the essence of fear. Laying a charge can often escalate the violence, and sometimes the woman is asked right in front of the perpetrator if she is going to charge the perpetrator. Well, in her own best interest, she's not going to say yes because she knows she's going to get a worse beating. So I do, and I also think too that again, you have to look at, you're trying to keep a family together, and when you charge someone, they're going to be removed. So you have to understand the whole cycle of abuse, because many times it's seen as, well, the father won't be there or the mother won't be there, so the person doesn't lay the charge. And I do also think that the police in investigating these cases can be a little bit more understanding of what the woman or the person being beaten is going through, and perhaps there might be more charges laid.
Along with this really large number of occurrences, there has to be a lot that aren't reported. What do you chalk that up to? Why don't the abused report incidences, male or female?
I think that, again, you have to understand the psychological impact of being beaten, being kidnapped, being raped in your own home. You become a different person. That becomes a way of, you've got to keep that quiet, that you're ashamed of what's going on in your house. Many times even close family members don't know what's going on in somebody's home until they are able to be strong enough and say, I'm going to charge him, or I'm going to bring him to court for this. And then they're let down by the court system, because many times the person can still call them from jail and give them harassing phone calls. So I really do believe that we have to do more as far as jail time and sentencing, but we also have to do more around education about what is abuse, what is abusive.
What can we as people do to help fix this problem?
Education is the solution. Learning about the cycle of abuse, offering help if you do witness any abuse. I'm not saying that during the time of the abuse you offer help, because that could be dangerous for you. But if you know that one of your friends is showing up with bruises, or she doesn't want people in her home, like, just ask, what's going on, and offer help, offer just a supportive ear. Sometimes just knowing that you're not going to be judged for what's happening in your home allows a woman the space to begin to think about leaving.
Mm-hmm. I've even heard the abused say he'll change or she'll change, or I can change him. Can that happen, or is that just a fallacy?
Sometimes those are things that the person being abused tell themselves, because they have to find a way to live with what's going on in the house. But you have to be very careful about those sorts of questions, because it's almost blaming the person for staying. And the last thing a person needs is to feel blamed or judged. They need to be given the support of listening with a completely unprejudiced point of view.
What can our local, provincial, and federal governments do to try and eliminate this problem?
Well, number one, they need to stop cutting funding to women's shelters, women's issues. Sisters in Spirit completely lost all their funding. That's the group for missing and murdered women across Canada. There has been a 22% cut to women's funding in different areas. So really, on one hand, they're saying that they would like to see help for this situation, but on the other hand, they're pulling the money. So groups like Women for Social Justice, a grassroots activism group, that's why we keep in the forefront. We're trying to keep putting it right back where it belongs. Like, why are we losing services? Why are we losing cuts? Why are we going backwards in the issues of women and violence?
Would you like to tell us anything about Daisy Day to end violence?
Sure, I'd be happy to. That was a day that was designated by the United Nations. The actual date is November 25th, but we're going to have our event on November 22nd in the Station Mall. And it's to bring attention to violence against women all over the world, women and children. It's the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Children. Because women and children worldwide, globally, are the ones that suffer the most from violence. So until we heal one half of society, we're not going to have the wonderful contribution that women can give when they're free.